Overview: A Mental and Spiritual War. Pastor Alex Ocheme frames Africa's struggle not as a physical conflict, but as a war of the mind, a battle against ideological manipulation, psychological dependency, and systemic control. Africa 2030 is presented as a prophetic movement aimed at liberating the continent through mental transformation, youth empowerment, and spiritual revival. Exposing modern slavery colonialism persists in new forms: economic dependency, ideological control, and political manipulation. African leaders are often puppets of foreign interests, serving external agendas rather than their people. The continent suffers from model slavery, chains of thought, not iron. Strategy for liberation. Africa 2030 rejects violence and instead promotes mental renewal, spiritual awakening, youth training, cultural rebuilding. The movement's weapons are truth, knowledge, and conviction, rooted in biblical principles. Rejecting corrupt leadership. Many current leaders are described as morally bankrupt, driven by greed and foreign validation. Africa 2030 calls for abandoning these figures and focusing on building a new generation of ethical, visionary youth. The Mindset Academy. A cornerstone of the movement is the Mindset Academy, which aims to train youth in skills, leadership, discipline, and faith. Create a pan-African network of builders and thinkers. Replace broken institutions with value-driven education. Building the Africa we want Africa. 2030 envisions a new African identity, free from tribalism, corruption, and dependency, rooted in honesty, stewardship, kindness, and godliness. Focused on self-reliance, dignity, and leadership. Faith as the foundation, true transformation must be anchored in spiritual truth. Africa must return to God-centered values to rebuild its moral and national integrity. The movement is prophetic, not political. A continental movement, Africa 2030, is building schools of thought, trade networks, purpose-driven churches, digital learning tools, faith-led communities. It spans education, business, agriculture, technology, and media. What the world fears. The West fears an awakened African youth, not protests, but organized, faith-driven builders. Africa 2030 counters global distractions with moral media, skill-based education, African technologies, faith-led governance. Final call: let the builders arise. The movement ends with a rallying cry: no more waiting or blaming. It's time to build, believe, and rise. Africa 2030 is a revolution of the mind and spirit, not just a message. Pastor Alex Ocheme's closing words. He calls on Africans to reject false identities, embrace divine purpose, unite across tribes and nations, build the Africa their children deserve. Africa 2030. It's not just a vision, it's a revolution. We are Africa. We are many tribes, but one destiny. We are not who the world says we are who God says we are. Join us. Stand with us. Believe again. Together we will build the Africa our children deserve. Africa 2030. It's not just a vision, it's a revolution. www.africa2003.world